Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah, let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today we are discussing looking back to go forward, looking back to go forward. So, before I bring my special guest on, I want to hear from you. We are live on Facebook, Conversations with Nicole, on YouTube, and on the Greater Works Network on Roku. We are live in terms of interaction on Facebook and on YouTube, and we do want to hear from you. So, before I introduce my guest, please in the comments let me know what city and state are you tuning in from? What city and state are you tuning in from? We are going to have a lively discussion tonight. So bring your popcorn, get your soda, and tag a friend. Like, tag, share, let them know they need to be in here because we have got a great discussion in store for you. So let me start off by giving a shout out to cousin Denise in Texas. Thanks for being here. Mr. Ozzy Oz, thank you for being here. The Ozzy's in Virginia Beach, a regular. Ozzy normally is on the last Monday of the month joining me for some conversation. So glad you are here tonight, my brother. So, y'all, it is FAMU Homecoming 2022. So we're going to be in orange and green all week long, okay? Not just on Orange Day, not just on Green Day, but every day, orange and green. Go Rattlers, okay? So game is on Saturday. We got a lot of activities. I'm going to be out in these homecoming streets, okay? So if y'all see me, give me a wave, a shout out, throw up a Rattler sign or something, let me know. Let me know. Rattlers need to be representing, okay? Because it is homecoming 2022. All right. I see a few more people chiming in. Hey, Mom, out of Miami. Thank you. Mr. Michael Love from Jacksonville. Thank you. Thank you. And Miss Patricia Day out of West Palm Beach. Thank you for being here. And now we got Miss Marjorie out of Central Florida. Thank you for being here, Marjorie. Appreciate you. So, my guest, I actually met on Instagram. I find a lot of great people on Instagram. And so I think she was kind of following me. I was kind of following her. We was kind of fangirling each other, liking each other's stuff. And so I just hit her up in a DM and was like, hey, would you like to be on my show? So at any rate, let me introduce Miss Cherise Watson. She is a dynamic clinical therapist and educator with over a decade of experience in the fields of counseling and education. Cherise is the owner and lead clinical therapist of Cornerstone Center for Counseling, providing individual counseling, consulting, supervision, and presentations to the South Florida community. So she's in Florida. Cherise strives to increase awareness around the importance of prioritizing mental and emotional health and is highly sought after to facilitate trainings and presentations to the community. Some organizations that she's presented for include NISNIC Behavioral Health, South Dade chapter of NAACP, Miami-Dade and South Dade chapters of the FAMU Alumni Association, and local churches, to name a few. She is a proud wife, mother of three who loves music, the arts, traveling, singing, and advocating for marginalized and underserved groups. So, y'all, help me welcome Miss Cherise Watson.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your Mindset Monday. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on Conversations with Nicole tonight.
Awesome, awesome. And so glad to have you. So, Cherise, tell the people, you talked about what you do, but tell us a little bit more about who you are.
So, a little bit about me. I love music. Like I said, I sing. I grew up in the church singing, actually.
Okay.
And I am sought after on the side for singing as well. Sometimes
Really?
people have me, do solos in different funerals, weddings, anniversaries, anything. I sing. I sing a lot. I love to sing. That is like music is who I am.
Okay.
Helping others is who I am, and I'm a well-rounded, funny person. I don't know if people know that I'm funny, but I think I'm pretty funny. I think I could maybe be a comedian part-time, but
okay. Look, y'all tell me all of this when I talk to her on the phone, y'all. That's why I asked this question, because stuff kind of just leaks out, when you ask people, who are you? Right? Not what do you do, but who are you? So, all right, so we might have to have you sing a tune for us or something, give us a few bars.
I might can do that for you.
Okay. All right. I see a few more folks jumping in. So hey there to my godmom Corliss in Miami, Miss Portia in Miami. Y'all are representing tonight, and Mr. Frankel, who's right here in Tally Ho. Thank you for being here. So before we get started, I want you to tell the folks just a little bit about how you got involved with counseling.
Sure. So I felt like I was a teacher first. I worked in elementary schools and college at the college level as an adjunct professor. And I felt like I wanted to make more of a difference and have more of a reach because I could have an impact and make a positive difference in my students' lives in the classroom. But there were a lot of situations and challenges that they faced at home that, I couldn't really speak to or help with. And I decided to go back to school and, study and pursue a master's degree in counseling so that I can work with families, I can work with children, I can work with adults and really help people heal because they're hurting and they're dealing with so much. And that gets in the way of trying to learn. And you can't expect people to learn and accelerate and excel in academics when they have all these things going on at home.
Very true. Very, very true. Okay. So teacher initially, but then, wanted to help a little deeper.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And so you have your own practice.
Yes. Yes, I have my own practice, Cornerstone Center for Counseling. It is primarily telehealth, telebehavioral health practice. I've started it during the pandemic in 2020. Again, another labor of love of wanting to help. At the time, I felt like a lot of people were stuck at home, sheltering in place, dealing with a lot of anxiety around maybe catching and contracting the virus, dealing with a lot of grief and loss and depression. Maybe a lot of opportunities were lost or they lost loved ones and just wanted to be able to connect to the community and share my gift of counseling.
Nice. Okay, very good. Well, before we get started, I do want to read my disclaimer, which states that all topics, past, present, and future on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or an answer to any personal issues related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yes. So we want to encourage you to get your checkup from the neck up, all right? With the clinician today. And so part of the reason why I bring up your practice because you're in Florida, right?
Yes.
Are you taking new clients?
I'm taking new clients.
Okay. So if you're in Florida and you need a clinician, you may want to consider. That's right. Yes. The singing therapist.
Yes, the singing therapist.
All right, very good. Do you do insurance or
I'm
private?
working on getting on panels at this time. So right now, just private pay. But as soon as I get on those panels, I'll be open to insurance as well.
Okay, good deal. All right. Well, let's move into this topic. So, you and I were talking and just about, some things that people experience in life and some of the challenges with family of origin and things of that nature. And we came up with this wonderful topic of looking back to go forward.
Yes,
Looking back
yes.
to go forward. So when you hear that, what do you think?
Um, when I hear it, I think, of your history and of your past and of your roots, almost like a tree and the roots that are grounded and, planted, but then kind of how you flourish and you grow up and out of certain things and certain situations. So that's what comes to my mind.
So in pulling this flyer together for today's show, I normally post initially to the story, and I normally have a song that
Mm,
goes with it. All right,
mm,
and so the way it's set up in IG, you can just type in whatever word, and it'll bring up a song that's related to it. The amazing thing about this is that for each song that I found about moving forward, all of them said, I won't go back.
mm.
I won't
Interesting.
go back. Okay.
Right,
I won't
right.
go back. Now, mind you, we are saying look back
Hmm.
in order to go forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
You don't have to necessarily go there,
yes.
but you can glance back. You can glance back.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So, talk to us a little bit about the importance of looking back in order to move forward.
definitely. I think that looking back is critical in order to move forward because you don't want to erase and just wipe away and forget your roots and where you come from and all the experiences that have shaped you and molded you and made you into who you are today. Um, it's just like a reference point. You need it as a reference point, but not a place where you stay and you stop and you're stuck. So you shouldn't be looking back and be stuck looking back, but you should be able to glance back here and there as a reference point to show you how far you are or how close you are. It's a gauge, but sometimes we tend to look back and get stuck there. We're looking back and we're living back there, and
Mhm.
we're missing what's in front of us. We're missing what's happening now.
So, I'm glad you said that because I have encountered, and maybe have been a little guilty of this myself, encountered people that want to stay in the past,
Yeah.
always talking about the good old days or back when they were, you know, whatever, um,
Right.
how things were.
Yeah.
Okay. And so nothing wrong with reminiscing on that, right?
No, nothing's wrong with that. That's still relevant. That's still important. Those memories are special, and that nostalgia is needed to go down memory lane.
Mhm.
But you just don't want to live there. That's all, because those were the good old days. Those aren't
Mhm.
the days of today. You
Right.
don't want to miss today,
Hmm.
reminiscing on yesterday, because that's yesterday.
Yes. So the importance, I think, of looking back. I know we've heard the saying that if you don't know your history, then you are bound to repeat it.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct.
And sometimes maybe we don't know our history.
Hmm. True. Not enough of it. We don't know enough of our history.
Hmm.
Um, and it's, again, important to know it because it helps you to better understand yourself, to better understand where you come from, your lineage, your family. It just puts things in perspective. And so without that, it's hard to go forward when you have those missing pieces. So
Hmm.
looking back and getting that history and getting in touch and a hold of that knowledge can help you to have something to stand on as you are climbing and aspiring to get out or move through something that you're, facing. It just depends. It could be so many things, but you do need that perspective.
Indeed. So I think about maybe people who they're adopted, or maybe they don't have access to their family of origin because maybe they no longer are living. And
True.
so sometimes it can be a little challenging trying to piece all of that together.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. That's true, because you can only know so much in that type of situation, and you can only go back so far. So with that, I think you kind of hold on to what you do know, and hold on to the family that you have, and kind of maybe there's things that you can research about yourself, or there's certain adoptions that are open and some that are closed. So sometimes you're able to go back and reach out to your biological birth mom or whatever. And I do know people who have struggled as adults, and really wanted to understand themselves better, and felt like there was this missing piece, and did their own research and homework to get more in tune and in touch with that part of themselves. In some areas you land at a dead end, and in some areas you get a little closer to connecting those pieces and connecting those dots. But I think you just have to start where you are. Start where you are with what you have, and then build on that in that situation.
Gotcha. So what are your thoughts around people who maybe are having an identity issue in terms of knowing themselves? Maybe there have been some traumatic experiences that have caused them to block some of their past.
Yeah. That's definitely a normal and typical thing to see, where people might block off some things, there's some avoidance behaviors, just being disconnected and dissociated from it. And it's so interesting, because when you talk about like from the past, I think about historical trauma and like intergenerational trauma, that it's not even present in your grandparents or your parents, but it goes back generations, but it's still present in you. And some of those same things cycle through. So the first thing to do is recognize it, and maybe have a conversation, because having conversations kind of bridges some of the gaps as well. I know even for me, trying to understand some things with myself, and having to talk to my dad, talk to different family members, and get some perspective and get some understanding really helped me to have a stronger sense of self and a stronger sense of identity in myself. So that's a step. That's one of the things you can do.
Okay. So having a conversation with family members to
explore some of these things that keep coming up. Maybe there's certain things that come up that you notice, and you're like, I don't know where this comes from. Like, I noticed that I keep doing this or saying this or acting in this way, and I never went through anything where I should be this way. And maybe talking that through and seeing, do you notice anything like this in you? Did you notice anything like this in, a cousin, a sister, whatever? And sometimes there's a storyline of something that happened, and for some reason it still relates to you, even though you weren't there, because that's how that intergenerational trauma works, that historical trauma works.
Gotcha. So what I'm hearing is you got to have some level of self-awareness.
Definitely. You got to have some self-awareness, and be able to know yourself to a degree, and then be willing to kind of research and explore more to get more about yourself and get a full picture of what you're dealing with, and what are the barriers, what blocks you, what's getting in the way. Because we all have like ways of coping that are healthy, and we have ways of coping that are unhealthy. And it's hard to recognize sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't seem unhealthy because it's what everybody does in our family. It's what everybody does in our friend group. So why would that be the wrong thing to do? Why is that the wrong way to cope? But it's hurting us more than it's helping us. So I think what happens is a lot of times I see people in my practice who these ways of coping, they recycle it over and over, and they end up with certain themes and certain patterns and certain challenges in their interpersonal relationships, whether it be at work, whether it be in their romantic relationship, whether it be with a family member, whether it just be within their own emotions and their ability to regulate their emotions and feelings. And so that is like your first signal. That is your first signal. That's your first sign.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm, just in hearing you, like, so I'm trying to be like blank slate, in terms of listening, because it's like people are just, living their lives. They don't probably even think that, is anything wrong. Yeah. I get upset about things, or I might, curse people out or throw some things, or, whatever. So,
Right. What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
That's how all my people, my family does it, my friends do it. It's no big
And I
deal.
didn't die. I'm here. That's what we always hear. Did you die? Like, you're still standing. So it's not a big deal. But I think maybe, back then it wasn't a big deal and everybody did it and you do it too. But maybe today it is, because every generation is different, and how it impacts you and how it affects you is different. Every person is different. And I think one thing I want to really highlight is what's traumatic for me might not be traumatic for you, but it doesn't make it any less traumatic. There's different types of trauma. There's different things that can create that traumatic response, whether it be a natural disaster, generational trauma, grief, loss, domestic violence, emotional abuse. There's just a myriad of things that you could face: discrimination, racial based trauma. There's so many ways that you can be impacted. And so that there's not one way to respond. So even though, people say, hey, I'm fine and I do this, and I might cuss people out when they push my button, so what? Yes, but is that the best thing to do? No. Over time, you're going to find yourself with a smaller friend group or a smaller circle, because people are not going to want to deal with you. People are going to maybe kind of say, let me hang with her sometimes, but not all the time, because she be tripping. She be popping off. I can't. She's going to, embarrass us at the function, embarrass us at the, so it's, but what happens is it's over time, it doesn't work. So it might work in a certain setting and it's fine, but it doesn't work in every setting. So you have to be flexible. You have to be adaptive.
So Facebook user said deep breaths work. Yeah, they do.
Sometimes you got to take a deep breath. You got to pause. You got to count. You got to deep breath, a mindful breath. You got to work on those relaxation strategies and techniques.
Yes. Okay. Facebook user is Seta, and I think it's Seta's birthday today. So
happy birthday,
Seta!
Yes. Scorpio season.
Yes. Thank you for being here. So I think like we're getting to the meat of it a little bit, right? Because these traumas, that's a big part of it, right?
Yes,
and what you said, that in terms of trauma for me may not be the same trauma for you.
That's right. That's right. It looks different.
Right. And so that's like huge.
Yeah, because we can't minimize and like dismiss someone else's trauma just because it wouldn't have been traumatic for us. And I think a lot of times people do that. They don't do it in a bad way, and they're not meaning it to be harsh, but it really demeans and puts somebody down because they're really trying and struggling to deal with this thing. and you're like, just do this, just do that. It's not a big deal. Oh my God, get over it. Why are you still on that? But trauma is stored in the body. It's stored in so many ways. There's different things that trigger it. You might be re-experiencing it, reliving it. You're trying to get through it, but you're not quite there. So people need support. People need to be seen and heard, in validated. Validation is huge. It's a huge thing that I see clients are feeling like, why don't people see me? Why don't people hear me? Why is my family member invalidating this experience and making it seem like, okay, you've been sexually assaulted, me too, get over it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So you have to handle it delicately and individually for each person.
Ooh, okay. So I heard, again, self-awareness. I'm getting my list together, y'all. After I heard self-awareness, I heard acknowledgement of the trauma.
Yes.
And also that trauma is something that's self-defined.
That's right. That's right.
And we have to hold space for one another as it relates to that.
Amen.
Right? Or at least identify people that can hold space for us as it relates to
Correct.
that.
I think that's a really big thing that you said, because we're not all within our means to manage and respond in the way that somebody needs. So you can say, I'm sorry that you're going through this, and I don't know how to be there for you as much as, I want to be there for you. I think that, you should reach out to this person or to this organization for additional support, because this is a little bit out of my capacity. It doesn't mean I don't love you and I'm not here for you, but this is a lot. A lot of times people who work in trauma and they're clinicians have to manage secondary trauma and vicarious trauma from hearing and witnessing and going through alongside their clients, that healing journey. So it's the same for, friends, family.
And I would imagine the same for clinicians too.
Yes. Yes. So, you have to be able to recognize when it's a little bit too close, or it's a little bit like, I need a moment. I need to take time for myself, because people always say you can't pour from an empty cup, and it can be very draining. It's very emotionally involved, and you have to be able to know what your own boundaries are and what your own limits are in the work. Even though you're trained, it's not that you're not trained, but you're human. You're human.
Right. Okay, so trauma, recognizing that trauma is individualized, right? And then validation as it relates to that. That, whatever happened. And it's okay that you felt whatever you felt when it happened.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what would you say would, because I think it's difficult, right? Because again, we're talking about looking back in order to move forward. So in looking back, maybe somebody did something against us. And so, not judging whatever happened, but just acknowledging that it happened, accepting that it happened, right? And then again, a validation of your feelings around whatever happened.
Yes.
And then what would you say would be next after that?
I would say that the next step is, how do I use this situation that happened to me? What things can I take away, even in really tragic and difficult situations? It teaches us stuff about ourselves. It shows us things that we didn't know about ourselves when we're going through that fiery situation. So what can I take from it, and what do I want to leave right there? And it stays there. Once you decide what you're taking and what you're leaving, you can't go back. It's there. Leave it there so that you can take those takeaways, what you learned about it's going to increase your self-awareness, and learn some skills, healthy skills. Try to switch out of those unhealthy coping skills to more adaptive, flexible, healthy coping skills that are going to be for where you're going. Because what you did was for where you were, and it worked for where you were, but you'll find yourself frustrated when you're using those same tools and they're not unlocking and opening doors like before.
No, very good point. So I'm gonna pull the audience in. So I hope you all are with me and y'all are hearing it like I'm hearing it. So she's saying that after we have acknowledged the trauma, we've gotten validation from our feelings as it relates to it. And in that acknowledgement, and I'll say acknowledgement and acceptance, you are not judging what happened. You are just, taking account of what happened.
That's right.
And also recognizing your feelings about whatever that was.
Exactly.
And then identify what you can take away from that. What did you learn about yourself? And then what can you leave? Maybe there was something that you did or you used then for that particular situation or circumstance that is now no longer serving you well, and you need to leave it behind you.
Yeah.
So can anybody relate to that? If you can, in the comments, just give us a thumbs up or a wave or a church finger or something in the comments. Let us know if you can relate to having gone through those steps of, identifying the trauma and the validation, and then learning to, whatever you learn from it, receiving that, holding on to that, and then whatever you don't need anymore, that's no longer serving you, to get rid of it. All right. So we got a few people chiming in. All right. Raquel, thank you. Netta, definitely. All right, good deal. Yeah, no, I think that's powerful. Like, that is doing the work. Like, I have been on this whole doing the work kick lately, because people are always talking about doing the work, but I'm really trying to break that thing down. And not to take away from the clinicians, because I think most people are not, they're going to have to be really strong and disciplined to like walk through these steps and not be judgmental and not be so hard on themselves or, the person or who may have wronged them or what have you. I mean, like, what I'm saying is, you are really, again, acknowledging, accepting what happened. You are validating your feelings about what happened. And then you are, identifying what those lessons learned are, and what tools that you may have used then that are no longer serving you well. Like, that is the work.
That is the work. And, one thing is, like, there's levels. So, you might be at a level of acceptance at one stage, and then you have to continually work to get to another level of acceptance in another stage. So saying I accept what happened, maybe you accept a piece of what happened, but there's some other parts that are a little bit more complicated.
Yes.
You put those to the side until you're ready. You don't have to accept all of it all at once. And the other thing I want to add is, with your emotions, I always tell my clients, there's no right or wrong with emotions. Your emotions are how you feel. So you don't want to, like you kept saying, I love that you said, don't judge how you're feeling. Just feel how you're feeling. Allow yourself to feel your feelings. That's how you felt about it. That's how you're feeling about it. And that's okay. You have to allow it to come up and out and through, versus pushing it down, suppressing it, avoiding it. Like, it's too painful. A lot of clients I have had say, I can't go there. I don't want to go there. It's too painful. If I allow myself to cry, what if I never stop crying? What if I'm just, a mess? But you have to let it out a little bit. You have to see, you can't just keep it in, because it's screaming to come out, and it shows you in different ways, physically and emotionally and mentally. A lot of the times, So whether you're ready or not, it's gonna come at a point. So it's better that you do the work, as you said, and whatever that looks like, it could be small, it could be big, but you're moving towards healing, you're moving towards acceptance. So I think I want to just stress that you're moving towards it, but you might not arrive at it, and that's still good.
That is progression, though, and that's what
Yes.
we're talking about,
That's
right?
right. That's right. That's the moving forward. That's the moving forward, right? Because some people are so stuck in the pain of the past that they are immobilized in that pain. They're immobilized in that pain. They're stagnant in that pain. And what happens is you start to look at things through the lens of your trauma. And that's why you're not able to move past it. You're not able to move through it. You know, you're looking for, if, you know, someone betrayed your trust, you're like suspicious of people and you're like, I can't allow myself to trust. I'm not going to let what happened happen before, but then people can't get close to you and you can't have meaningful, strong relationships. So that's a barrier. So it's like you're protective because in that last situation, they broke my trust, they betrayed my trust, and look what happened. But now in this situation, I won't allow myself to trust anyone. And now I have kind of these walls up and all this space.
Yes. So, real quick, for those of you maybe just joining us, it is Mindset Monday. I have Cherise Watson on, and we are talking about looking back to go forward. Looking back to go forward. So Marjorie had a question. She said, absolutely, but I do have an issue with certain trauma reoccurs, regression can happen. What is your advice on preventing regressing behaviors?
That's a wonderful and a great question. Sometimes when it comes back and it resurfaces, it sounds like you kind of regress and you feel like you're moving backwards instead of forwards. And what can you do to prevent that? I want to say it's okay to allow the regression to happen, because what happens is you're stuck at that point for a moment, and that's just telling you this is a trigger. I'm being triggered. And so how you can handle triggers is to ground yourself. There's different ways to ground yourself. 3 of the types of grounding are physical grounding, mental grounding, and soothing grounding. Physical grounding involves, and grounding is about getting in touch with the here and now, with the present. Because what happens when you regress is you're going back to that time in the past, to that time when the trauma happened, and it almost feels like it's happening right now. So when you do different things such as grounding, it can pull you out of that memory in that moment. So a physical grounding exercise might be moving, getting up and walking, touching something, washing your face with water, grabbing something that has different like textures and describing the textures and the colors, because you're pulling yourself out of that memory, out of that thought. Mental grounding is maybe talking to yourself in a way like saying, I'm okay, I'm at my house, I'm in my room, I'm safe, I'm not wherever, whatever is happening, you kind of remind yourself of what's in front of you. You might want to think of things that are just random, that you can count, that you can list, that can get you out of that thought. And then soothing is kind of thinking of things that bring you comfort. So if you love ice cream or you love the beach, maybe you kind of picture yourself at the beach and you envision the sand and the waves and the sounds and the smells to get you out of what was triggering you and ground you to the present. So the first thing is to ground. And second thing is, what I was trying to say earlier is you're regressing, but it's going to propel you and launch you forward. So even when you have these setbacks, they're for a moment. And when you work through them, you're able to maybe journal, you're maybe able to talk about it with a therapist, pray about it, meditate, whatever works for you. You're going to get some enlightenment, you're going to get some insight, and that's going to propel you forward. and launch you in your healing again, because healing isn't a straight line. Healing isn't perfect. And, checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. It's up and down. It's you stop, you jump, you stop again. But it's healing, even though it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm 20 steps back. Maybe you need those 20 steps back to launch 70 steps forward.
Yes. No, great advice. Great advice. Marjorie said that is excellent information. Thank you.
You're welcome, Marjorie. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. So Nick quoted you, how you handle triggers is to ground yourself. Yes.
Ground yourself. That's one way. Deep breathing is another way. You kind of like take a deep breath in and hold it for a couple seconds, maybe 5 seconds. When you're taking the inhale, you hold it and then you let it out for 5 seconds, and you do that repeatedly. There's other ways as well, but breathing always kind of slows your nervous system, slows just everything down. So that's something that can calm and soothe you as well.
For sure. Janetta said, it's like the volcano effect. When trauma or negative experiences are suppressed, they will manifest in many ways in our daily, and we're not aware of it. At some point, we may explode just like a volcano.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because sometimes you're just pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, and it's just waiting to come up. And when it finally comes up, it can feel like a volcanic eruption. It can feel kind of crazy and out of control. And a lot of times, what I notice working with a lot of victims of trauma is because something happened that was outside of your control, you work so hard to regain and keep and maintain control. And so letting yourself feel your emotions, or letting yourself think through, talk it through, work it out, is feeling out of control. And so it feels more in control to just, I'm fine. I'm just going to go to work. I'm just going to go to church. I'm going to just be busy. And a lot of people feel themselves, they're just so busy, but it's a distraction. It's a distraction. And over time it crashes, whether you work 3 jobs or you're just keeping yourself up. You're not sleeping. At some point it's going to hit you.
Absolutely. Very, very true. So again, which is part of why we're having this discussion about looking back in order to move forward.
Exactly.
Because again, if you have not dealt with those, with that trauma from the past, and maybe you've been suppressing, at some point it's gonna come up and it's gonna erupt.
So what you could do is let a little bit out at a time, a little bit out at a time, instead of not dealing with it at all. And instead of dealing with it all at once, you can maybe deal with one thing and then, okay, how do I feel? I'm going to take a moment, process that, then deal with another. Exactly. So it's that way. It doesn't build up so much that it explodes. It'll build up to a level that you're aware of and that you can manage. So it's not about control, but it's about management. Can you manage it?
Yes. So management versus control. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So what role does forgiveness play in looking back to go forward?
Forgiveness plays a tremendous and vital role in looking back and moving forward. A lot of people hold a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and a lot of other emotions. And many times, it's not just the other person that wronged them or was a part of the traumatic experience, but it's being able to forgive yourself. People are unforgiving. We're our own worst critics. We're hard on ourselves. And so it's like, how could I let this happen? But you have to start with yourself. You have to forgive you, and then you can make peace with whatever forgiveness is going to look like for the person or for the situation, so that you could release yourself. Because when you hold it and you hold on to it and you hold that grudge and you hold that resentment and you hold that pain, you can't open it up for anything else. But it is a process. It is going to take time, and you have to kind of check in with where you are in your healing and if you're ready. Some people never feel like they can fully forgive, but they can make peace and acknowledge what happened and acknowledge what they did and what the other person did. Other people have opportunities to get closure and sit down and talk with the person and work through it, whether it's a family member or a romantic partner. So I think it just depends. It really depends. But I say start with you. Start with yourself first.
For sure. For sure. For sure. So that's, again, part of the looking back in order to go forward is forgiving yourself.
Forgiving yourself. And then you can embrace a new version of you. You know, that was the old version of you that had to do that or had to suffer through that, experience that. And now you release that version of you to embrace and take steps to be another newer, improved version of you. And everything that we go through, you know, it says it not to be churchy, but it says it in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes, that everything that we experience, every activity under heaven is for a time and for a season. And so there are seasons that we have to try to understand. And if you are religious and if you are spiritual, you can seek understanding and guidance from God to help make peace and to help with that forgiveness, because sometimes it's really hard and it might take something outside of yourself to get there.
Yes, for sure. For sure. For sure. So I like that, embracing the new version of you, right? After you've done this work.
Yes. Yes. Because it's going to emerge. You never go through something traumatic and come out the same. You know, going through that experience does something to you, and you already are a new version of yourself anyway. So it's getting to know this new version of you and being empowered and being forgiving, being non-judgmental, being open, having awareness, you know, all those tools, having the ability to ground yourself, to breathe, to not cuss everybody out, but say, you know what's going on with me, kind of check in. You know, normally I cuss everybody out, but you know what, that's just my trauma response, or that's just what I used to do. But this new version of me is going to try something different. Just give yourself a chance.
I love that. I love that. Look, how many of you can identify your trauma response? Did you even know that that's a trauma response? Let me see. How many of you know that you have a trauma response that may not be loving, that may not be the way you really want to express yourself? You might not even know.
Yeah, it's something to discover. It's something to discover for sure. You know, we know the main ones is like fight, flight, freeze. Everybody talks about fight, flight, freeze, but there's other ones that are definitely rooted in traumatic experiences for sure.
All right. Nick said, forgiving yourself is the most forgotten about and the hardest step to take.
Yes. Yes, it is. The most forgotten about. I guess we do forget about, we put ourselves last. A lot of times we put ourselves last. So we're just putting so much emphasis and focus on the external things, the other person. But we need to take time to prioritize us first. And it is a hard step, but it's a rewarding step and a meaningful, much needed step.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Janetta say yes, because we have triggers.
Yes. And that's another step, is learning what are my triggers, identifying and learning what they are, so that you can plan ahead and get yourself in a way that you can manage it better versus control it, as we talked about before. So being in certain places with certain people doing certain things maybe are not the best idea because it can bring up things that trigger you. Sometimes it'll just happen randomly and you'll have to piece together what it was. But other times you might have an inkling and an inclination, and you can kind of have a plan of an exit route if it comes up, or try to, minimize your time there, or just not go at all until you're ready, until you're in a better space.
Indeed. All right. Frank Hill said, yes, thank you. I recognize them and I practice acceptance and realization.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, for sure. What did they say? Yay, I know Trauma Nick.
He's annoying. He said he's annoying.
I'm glad you know, Nick.
That's the first step. That's the first step, is awareness.
That is the first step. Yes. So in that, again, like recognizing that you tripping.
Exactly. You gotta be able to put the mirror on yourself,
You tripping. So let me step away. Okay. Again, that's that whole self-awareness piece. Right? It's
so important.
That's so real. That is so real.
It's true. It's so true. We gotta have that self-awareness. We gotta be able to recognize for ourselves. We shouldn't have to have people calling us out. I don't know. We have a call out culture, and maybe that's what people like to do, but I'm more of the like, pull me to the side.
Right.
Don't call me out. So I'm gonna call myself out versus.
Well, and then also too, I think what happens is people don't want to fool with you.
No.
So you gonna, your circle of friends or what have you is gonna be real small because you got a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell you nothing.
Nobody can tell you don't want to listen, and it's hard to be around you after a while. Yeah, definitely.
No, don't like that. All right. Jeanette said, being present in the moment and reminding yourself that you're safe helps with healing.
Yes. Exactly. That's kind of that mental grounding that we talked about. You can say, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm going to get through this.
Yes.
Those are definitely things you can say to yourself.
Indeed. Okay. Well, this is good. All right. So are we done after we embrace the new version of ourselves?
Well, we're done in the sense of we're on this new journey of embracing ourselves and learning this new version of ourselves. But I don't think you're ever like done. I hate to say that. It sounds bad, but I mean, you will know when you're done, when you don't get triggered the way you used to get triggered anymore. Like you'll be like, man, I went in this setting with these people with this XYZ, this happened. And normally this happens and I was fine. I think I'm better. So I think that is your sign, and that is your signal that like, wow, I got through that and it doesn't have the hold on me that it used to have. And I've healed from it fully. But like I said, there's so many elements and so many pieces that can pop up. So it's just being aware and having those tools in case. But that new version of you, once it emerges, I think it's a beautiful thing to see. The healed version versus the hurting version. There's beauty in both, but probably people feel better when they're walking more in their healing than they're hurting.
Absolutely. No, good points, good nuggets. I hope this has been beneficial to y'all, because it has to me. I mean, I've heard different variations of what we've talked about tonight, but it's always great reminders and bears repeating. So I want to just do a quick recap. All right. So we talked about self-awareness, but I don't even know if we really get there first.
No, not quite. Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe it is. I don't know.
I wrote down a couple things, but I pretty much I said, to get from looking back at the past to moving forward into your future, you want to recognize the power and influence of the past, and taking in the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it all the parts of the past. That's your foundation. Those are your roots. And then understand and identify how you will use what happened back then to get you to now and to that future that you're trying to reach. And always remind yourself that healing is not linear. You're going to have ups and downs. It's like this roller coaster. But even if you have those setbacks, it doesn't mean you're not moving forward. You still most certainly are moving forward, but you're moving forward now with new tools, with new experience, with new thinking, and you'll be able to catch yourself, hopefully, over time, be like, hey, I'm tripping, you're doing it again. Or you'll be able to catch yourself when you're looking through things with just a trauma focus and with the trauma lens with back then. You want to always bring it back to the here and now and today.
Nice. You summed it up real nice. I'm gonna break it down a little bit more than that.
Sure.
Because I think, folks really understanding what this recognition means in terms of the acknowledgement and acceptance, the validation of your feelings, and then you identify what you can, what lessons you learn, and what tools you maybe need to leave behind, and then the forgiveness of yourself and others, but especially yourself, and then embracing the new version of you.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All of that is really great. Really great. Really great. Really great.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation.
Absolutely.
Just talking to a sister.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Nick said, y'all should hear the conversations I have with Trauma Nick. They get animated, but I love him though.
You gotta love him. You gotta love him because he's part of this Nick, this version of Nick.
Exactly. Well, how can folks connect with you?
Well, you can reach me. You can connect with me on my website. I have a website, www.cornerstonecounseling.center. You can email me at info@cornerstonecounseling.center. And you can also connect with me on Instagram, the way you and I started connecting on at CCC_counseling. So those are some ways we can connect. Please reach out. I would love to connect more with you all.
Absolutely. So do you have anything coming up? We're in the last quarter of the year, which is kind of hard to believe.
Yes, I'm just trying to get myself to wrap around that it's the last quarter, but I do have a couple things pending, but mostly just trying to prepare for the next year and trying to expand my practice and grow my practice so that I can take on more clients, take on some clinicians to help me help more people, because it's important and it's like a labor of love. I feel like it's what God put me on earth to do, and I want to do more of what God has for me and help people who need me so that they can not need me anymore, but just get them the tools that they need to get through whatever challenges that they're facing.
Nice. Love that. Absolutely love that. I enjoy your spirit. You are just a beacon of light. And
Thank you.
Even though I have only talked to you on the phone and, had a virtual conversation with you, I can definitely sense and feel all of that. So,
oh, thank you so much.
Yes, for sure. And wishing you all the best. Again, hopefully you all found this beneficial. If you did, give us some hearts or a thumbs up or I don't know, a high five or something.
High five.
In the comments. All right, let us know. For those of you who may be new to the platform, I do invite you to subscribe to Conversations with Nicole on YouTube, on Facebook, or follow us on Facebook and IG. And share this with someone. Share this with someone that you think maybe may need this information, that may benefit from this information, and may need to look back in order to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Aww.
Thank you, Mom. All right. Great show tonight. Thank
Thanks,
you, Nick.
Nick.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good deal.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Frankel. Appreciate you. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But before we do, just really quick, Wednesday, Dr. Terry Parks will be on. We are closing out Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so
That's
we'll
right.
be talking about the stay go phenomenon in
Mm,
domestic violence. And then next Monday, um, D. Jerome Garrett will be back for part 2 of Black Wellness.
nice.
We'll cover the last 4 dimensions of wellness. So 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here, Conversations with Nicole, Facebook, YouTube, and on the Greater Works Network on Roku. So I actually do have 2 shows tomorrow, y'all. These are not look regular shows. So I got Singles Mingle. We have a whole panel on tomorrow.
That's
So we'll be
awesome.
talking about the best dates, worst dates. So I got
I like it.
Chef Romance from Tallahassee Date Nights, and we got a panel. Marjorie's gonna be on the panel tomorrow. So
Oh, wow.
that'll be at 8:30. And then I also have a candidate who's running for state House of Representative, Kurt Bender. I'll be on with him at 5:30. So
You're a busy lady.
I am, yes, I am. Love to talk to the people. So, all right. So we getting some more comments from folks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Margie said she's gonna
Awesome.
connect with you. So cool.
Definitely looking forward.
Yes, for
Thank
sure.
you for sharing your platform with me. I'm just really honored and excited to even have time and have this conversation with you. This has been really great.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You have to come back.
Definitely. Most
All right.
definitely.
All right, cool. All right, good people. We'll see y'all. Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye.